Alright, so in the middle of the page to Zayin, and the line begins with Kulhi Omnom. So we have discussed the various combinations, various types of Rotsu, followed by Shuv, and Shuv, followed by a Rotsu. We found that in every case, there is an element where that allows for the Rotsu to follow the Shuv, and the Shuv follows to the Rotsu. Obdam, however, in order that there should be a hiskalolus, an inter-inclusion, not only that one Rotsu will follow Shuv and Shuv follow Rotsu independently, but actually that they should include one another. Rotsu and Shuv, which in essence they are opposite, they're opposite tendencies completely. The lane boy, for sure, when you, as we're going to discuss the various types of Rotsu and Shuv and show how they are really opposites. The lane boy, Shuv, for sure, Behorotsu and Shuv, shebebchinas pnimiyus. Rotsu and Shuv that are from on the inside of the nefesh, b'chinas pnimius. Essentially, b'chinas pnimius means to say that they are each completely self-satisfying. They are not seeking to accomplish something, but they are b'chinas pnimius. So in the Rotsu V'Shuv are pnimius, like in the case, for example, where the Rotsu is seeking the Remus, the Atzmus, with the inner that he seeks Atzmus, it's not that he is seeking to satisfy some kind of a quest, but that he is completely bundled to the Etzem. He identifies the Atzmus as the only thing, the only truth. So there, Harei Einam Levim Zeh Zeh. So there, the Rotsu V'Shuv are not bringing around one to the other. Rak except Shehein Beifin Kozeh, except that the Rotsu V'Shuv are in such a manner that there should be, after the Rotsu, there could be a Shuv, and after the Shuv, there could be a Rotsu. But this is not within the Rotsu Shuv of themselves that one should demand the other. Other Rabba, on the contrary, mitzad atzmam himenagdim shaloseh. On their own, they are opposite one another. Like we said, the very latest thing. We talked about the Rotsu, where he is seeking exclusively etzem. So there, in order there should be Shuv, he has to be a complete turnaround. That he doesn't want anything, I mean from beetle. But with the Rotsu itself, no way. He wants to continue in that same direction. And the same thing on the Shuv, as we said, we have to find a means by which there should be a possibility of a Shuv. when he is completely bottled and completely dedicated, so to speak, to Rotzen or Elin, how should we all of a sudden turn around on Monday have a Rotzen? So they pointed out that there is that possibility, that there is something in the shuv. There's the oineg and in the shuv that upon which the Rotzu can be founded, so to speak. There is something to desire, something to want. But not that the shuv should demand a Rotzu and the Rotzu should demand the shuv. So for shuv they are opposites, and there is no interrelationship between them. And then furthermore, v'gam beho'avo shebebchinas kiru, in the original, the first level of Rotzu Meshuv that we discussed, where it was much more obvious and much more natural that the Rotzu should result in Meshuv. They said originally that the first principle of Ahava, of Rotzu, was when we discussed the Ahava Shebchinas Kiruv, that the Ahava that results from the kiruv, from recognizing the very special relationship and the interest that Elokus had shown into the world. Like we said, the fact that Elokus is mislabish in the world and deals with all the world, the nuances. You remember that whole thing? So that there would be Elokus recognized from a worldly perspective, on a worldly level. This is called hislapshus, and that is an experience of special closeness. So there we explained how the Ava, that the Rotzu brings to the Shuv, and the Shuv brings to the Rotzu. Briefly, what we learned, this is quite a while ago, so I just wanted to refresh our perspective and recognition of this, that we said that in the Ahava, Eine meravet simoinoi. Eine meravet simoinoi, he's seeking the closeness of Elokus. And that closeness is expressed in the form of a tzimoim. Tzimoim means thirst. And we explained that thirst is associated with water. What's the relationship between, what's the special quality of thirst in association with water as opposed to a hunger associated with food? It is that water flows automatically on its own into the bodily crevices, whereas food is something which needs to be worked on. Food is a standalone, a separate entity. In the timoyen, in the desire for Elokus, ultimately, in the Rotzu, there is the idea that he perceives, he recognizes, he grasps the idea for Elokus. As long as there is a personal grasp, he does not feel the real closeness. It's like he grasped it, there's the he, there is his means by which he got to know it. The real inyan of personal Elokus is when it comes automatically, so to speak, milmaila, like water. That Hashem came down to the world, his lapshus, is ultimately consists in the fact that he gave us Torah mitzvahs, so that he actually is a participant right there in our lives. And in that participation, this is Marabat Tzimoin. So there it seems that the Rotzu actually brings to the Shuv. So he says that even b'ha'ava b'shbikinas kiruv, eina behechrech, it is not a must, sheyi hashuv, that there should be a shuv afterwards. For it's possible to be shechofet ba'gilu dialokus, that he actually desires the gilu dialokus, uludovko beis borich, and he actually seeks to the dovko to unite and connect to Elokus. And yet still, he is not complete. The word, there's a connection about it which is correct. It's not shalom, it's shalem. Shalom means peace. Shalem means whole. He is not complete with this. Li is hefzer yerutzaynoi, basic hatero mitzvah dovek aridei. He is not complete in this desire to the extent Leah is that he should actually seek to want basic atero mitzvahs in getting internal mitzvahs to be connected through tero mitzvahs. He is seeking it, but it's not a must that they should bring him to the desire that he should come down and tero mitzvahs. Although that this Indian is b'chinas katnus. In other words, what he's saying is that if one is satisfied just in the rotzu, and it does not bring him to then turn around and know that he could have, that the real connection to Elokus is to Torah mitzvahs, and he's satisfied in that, and that's a phase of it. So that is a yin from katnus. Katnus means this is small-mindedness. And I'll explain in a moment. The intended part in parentheses, Hainu sheho'ava hi'od b'pchinas katnus. That means that the ava then is in a katnus, is in a small manner. There's a smallness to it, and I'll explain what that smallness means. Nevertheless, but we have to understand that there is not that there is an imperative, there is an actual a demand that it should follow through to the next stage.
Is it because of the katnus that he doesn't follow? There's no demand. The katnus is.
Let me explain what katnus is for a moment. What is a katnus? Katnus, effectively, is the element of experience. Like, for example, somebody who learns. Learning is an intellectual process. You have to focus in. You have to try to follow the entire logical process, and ultimately you have to connect intellectually to the concepts that are being brought out. And as we explained many times, intellectual connection means that you're connecting from a nefesh level, because that's where the intellect is rooted, in the nefesh, in the oros and anointing. That is the real experience of learning. in this process, there are two levels. There is during the process itself, as you are experiencing the learning, and then there is the effect of it. As for example, during the process in the Pshat, that when you get a flash of an idea, and after that it takes me explaining it all, they say, oh, I see it, I got it, I get the point. This moment of I get the point is a kind of an illumination, a very special experience. If one does not then pursue the point and try to get the full significance and full impact of the point, then this experience is called katnus, because whole experience is due to the process of actualization, not what he has actually acquired. It's like a businessman. The Gemara says, it would be a perfect example of this. The Gemara says, Zovin bezovin tagri yikra, which means a person buys and sells, even though if he buys for $100 and sells for $100, so he didn't gain anything by this whole transaction, but he has the self-satisfaction. I'm a merchant. I made a transaction. That's called katnus.
Katnus is the focus on how was it said?
On the personal experience.
Versus the real significance.
The real tagra is that you buy for 100 and sell for 150. For 500. Okay? But tagra yikra. So this is clearly a fool's practice, activity. But even in the real sense, when a person learns, there is two elements in the learning. There is the momentary illumination. You say, this was a great experience. And you walk away with what? I had a great experience. It is a great experience because if your mind and intellect was touched, it's a great experience. But the point is that it was touched for the moment during the process, the pleasantness of the breakthrough, of the spark, so to speak, but not that you actually grasped and got into it. This is called katnus. So if one has the sense of the kiruv, and he does not get to the point that he senses the tzimoy, and he wants that this kiruv should translate in terms of Torah mitzvahs, it means that this whole ava is b'chinas katnus. He enjoys and he experiences the process, but he did not really grasp it. He did not really bring forth his inner realization of the significance of the meaning of this, so that he should be really drawn to it. It's nice, it's beautiful. This is b'chinas katnus. So that's what he says, that even in that ahava b'chinas kiruv, it seems to be a logical process, that ahava b'chinas kiruv brings about a different tzimoyin, and the tzimoyin brings to Torah mitzvahs. It's still not imperative. It's possible that he should stay by this ahava, and he's not brought to the point where he has to translate in terms of Torah mitzvahs.
Just to clarify, the Tzemoin happens at the pinnacle of the Ava, of the Rotzu.
Tzemoin happens, right, when you fully appreciate the new Holocaust, then it becomes a Yifun Tzemoin. Let me explain the Yifun Tzemoin. We discuss it then. I want to explain perhaps now a little bit more every time that we come to anything. There is always a notch that can be added. There is a fundamental difference between Holocaust and world. Okay. Fundamental difference between Holocaust and world. I have two basins of coffee for coffee. You take 2 cups. Many different, but the fundamental difference. The fundamental difference is that world is a created entity. A created entity, how do you get to create an entity? You just put your hand around it and you grab it. It has a finite presence and it has definitive parameters, and you grab it. Elokus, the first principle of Elokus is, it's not a created thing, it's the fundamental truth itself. How do you grasp something that is fundamental truth? For example, how do you grasp space itself? You can be within the space. You can grasp space. It's the fundamental presence of the world, and there's no way to grasp it. And Lakus, space is a created thing, but still in the world, the arena, this is the basis, the one that provides for the person. And Lakus is a fundamental truth. Emes Musadatzman, right? Emes Elikim. If one seeks a Lakus in the truth, he is seeking not just his idea a Lakus in contrast to world. Then you're trying to grasp it by the contrast. The real seeking of a Lakus is they're trying to relate to a Lakus as it is and to itself, not in contrast to the world. So there, that Lakus as it is in itself cannot be grasped. There's no grasp for it. There are no parameters. The only way to do it is by relating to it. This is the Torah mitzvahs. This is the infinite Shemayim. So he is b'pchinas katnas. He did not get to realize and recognize the essential truth of Holocaust, but just that is greater than world. So then he's satisfied with the grasp. This is called katnas. It doesn't really relate to the essential truth itself. So it is true that this is katnas, but it's possible that one would stay right there. I have an idea, and that's also illuminated. Yes.
It kind of explains why Torah mitzvahs is not a seichel. It's not something that seichel can deal with.
No, Torah seichel mitzvahs came in Maila. That's the whole Maila of Torah mitzvahs.
It's Maila min seichel.
It came mil Maila.
Yeah.
It came from above. It was given to us.
Because if he went the Ava to this place of Elokus and realized that it's not something graspable, and the continuation is to find it in Torah mitzvahs, so it's obviously something it's coming out from something not graspable.
Right. Right. It's more than just not graspable. It is the truth element of it. truth element of it is not only the fact that it's not graspable. The truth element is that it wasn't created. This is the essential truth itself. Amit is himotze.
So we can relate. You're saying that's the point here?
The only way to relate to Elokus, to have that, is through accepting the Torah mitzvahs. The Torah mitzvahs, this is when Elokus came and translated itself into our world. The Torah mitzvahs.
The answer to the Akiva's question. Answer to the Akiva's question. If it would have been Arlul Behinush Gadlus, then it yes for sure would bring to Shuv. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What would be the in the example you gave? You can't grasp world. What would be the Ava Gadlus?
Behinush Gadlus means that he recognizes that what is the essential value of what he had found in the Elokus is not the fact that it's different than world, but the essential truth of the Elokus itself. Not in contrast to world. Then the only way to relate to that is by accepting that which Elokus gave him, the container mitzvahs. A person standing in this world, in the physical world, and he delves into the world and he realizes that the world is a creation. And then he delves further in and says, since it's a creation, then the creator is not a creation. And he gets all excited. Look what I discovered. But he doesn't really relate to that truth. He relates to it from the world. I've discovered something that is superior, that is much superior to the world, but you haven't related to it. That's called kindness. You still remain in the world. You haven't really stepped out.
And the means of relating here is delving.
From your vantage point, you discovered something phenomenal.
But that's seeing that's seeing by contrast.
That's seen by contrast,
As opposed to
seeing its own truth.
Well, how could a created being ever see beyond a creation?
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Answer. It's true, the neshama is established in the goof, and in that respect, it's more the neshama itself. That's godly. We explain all the time. As much as we see the human being in the world, he is really not a worldly entity. It's an oddity in the world. It's an oddity, but it's not an oddity. It's an oddity if the world is an evolutionary world, a stupid world, but if it's a real creation, that's what the world is all about.
I'm using my means of created intellect
No.
to try and relate.
The means of created intellect is only to reach up and to see the real intellect. Intellect is the means to open up and to see what the truth of Hashem is. But once you see that truth, and that's what you can always chokhmah. Chokhmah is bika. Chokhmah is related to the actual truth of the nefesh itself. That's why we say that the primary state and source of intellect is Chochmah. Why Chochmah? Because Chochmah, it's not clean. Something
It looks a bit yellowish.
yellowish.
Weak coffee.
Coffee in that before?
Maybe a long time ago.
Something's floating in there.
Something floating in there?
A little tiny.
Sorry. It's true. It's a long time ago that we used it, and I was quick to. Okay.
Oh, this one?
Huh?
This one.
This one. Yeah, I know which one it
It's clean?
is. It's clean. Yeah. You let it stand. So the real. That's why you say chokhmah, seichel, real wisdom. It comes to the process of chokhmah into being. If we like this is what the chokhmah chitzenius is. What's chokhmah chitzenius? It's also chokhmah, but it's chitzenius. What's chitzenius about? What's that chitzenius? Chitzenius means it doesn't come from the nefesh. It comes from the identification of the physical world. That will never lead you to anything. It leads you downwards. Even if you see life, you'll say, "Oh, it's not real. It's not really life. It's just some kind of electrical reaction." Yeah.
So it's not real intellect is not what we consider an intellectual process. It's an essential truth. It is what it is.
Real intellect is sourced in the essential truth of the nefesh. Intellect element of that is how, when we become aware of it, in our koiches of seichel and seichel.
It's not an equation that can be figured out. It's becoming aware of an essential truth.
There is an equation aspect of it. There's a logical process to get to it. But when you get to it, you get the point. And the point is an essential truth. When you go to a process, a logical process, that clearly demonstrates to you logically that the world is a creation, then if you have a sense of wisdom, you will delve into the world and you will understand, see the world in a totally different world. Not the world that said, where are you coming from? Your question then will be what? What are you here for? That's where you're coming from. Why? Because if it's a creation, it has a purpose. You want to see, what is it, what was created? What are you here for? That's in Paltiel mitzvahs. If you do not go to that next step, then there's no, you haven't accomplished anything, you haven't made a step. Look what I discovered, the world is a creation, so what? It's the same world. I just know something that you don't. It's a big deal. The real thing is that it should lead you completely different perspective, different view of the world. The fact that the world is here is no big accomplishment. God created it. The question is, what did He create? That's the real question at that point. Okay. So that's what he says. That even though then the Ahava is a B'chinas Katnus, then Mekomo Kaim, Harei Ein Hadover Muchrach Mitzad Atzmoi. It remains that this is not something that is Muchrach, that is forced in and of itself. Yes, Katnus, generally speaking, would demand Gadlus. In other words, there's a logical question that says, hey, but this is not the real thing. But nevertheless, you could stay in the Katnus. There is nothing imperative about it. So that the Rotzu does not force the Shuv, nor does the Shuv force the Rotzu. But then, okay, in order that there should be the hiskalus, the interrelationship, the inter-inclusion that we explained, that the Rotzu brings the Shuv, and the Shuv brings the Rotzu. This is by the effect of the revealing of an Oyer Elyon, of a superior Oyer. That is above both of these elements of Rotzu and Shuv, which are opposite one another. And then by the effect of this Oyer Elyon, Nase HaHiskalelus, because and by the effect of this Gilui of the Oyer Elyon, the revealing of a higher Oyer. This is where the Hiskalus is affected. So this is going to be explained. What is this Oyer Elyon and how does it get revealed? But the principle at this point is to understand that as a result of this Avodah, there's a Gilui of the Oyer Elyon. This brings about the revelation of a higher Oyer that is neither Rotzu nor Shuv. That is above both of these things, which are essentially opposite tendencies. And this Oyer Elyon is above the aspect of tendency of Rotzu or Shuv. And through that the Hiskalus is affected. So now we're going to go through just introductory points, and then we're going to try to get into the scene.
From the beginning, we are saying that Ratzu and Shuv include one another, and we're saying at the same time they are opposites. I have difficulty conceiving that. How could something that's included in one another could be opposite at the same time?
Well, we said there are different types of Rotzu and Shuv. There's Rotzu and Shuv that includes one another. There are also the shuv that allows for each other, does not include each other. Like we just said, that the ava should be kiruv is like a rotzu that brings to the shuv. Like we said, he wants to be close, and ultimate closeness is by shuv, because then he is not satisfying his thirst. There's a thirst element. And this is like we're saying, the shuv is included in the rotzu. Then we spoke about a completely different rotzu, where he's seeking something that cannot be translated in the shuv. They said roimamus, the supremacy of the lakus, the from atzmos. So there it's a completely different relationship. There's no relationship between rotzu and shuv. It's just B'tzad bittul, he recognizes it. So there is no inclusion. So we said there are two types of two different, very different madrigas. Now we're saying that even in the case where we said that they include one another, so they include one another if one goes to the avo to its fullest degree in the godless, then it would result. But it's not imperative. It's not a must. That's the point. He could stay in the smallness, so to speak, in the superficial sense.
No, this or alien we're talking about now is sort of transcends the whole thing.
What?
This gilui of or alien.
Yeah.
Is some kind of a transcendence of this.
Right. Well, it's a transcendent. You have to understand, and this is going to come. You can see that it's a very subtle thing. The important thing, gilui oir elyon, is in contrast to rotzu and shuv. Rotzu and shuv, no matter how great, rotzu, we said, is a tendency, right? It's a direction, either a rotzu or shuv. A tendency includes two things: the action and what you are gaining. But the action itself, like rotzu, I'm running, that is part of the experience. And the shuv is also part of the experience when you come back in the Torah mitzvahs. A higher oil means it does not consist of a tendency. It's a recognition of the reality itself, not based, like we said before, not based on a contrast. Did you follow that discussion? Okay. Let's try to get into it, and we'll come back if necessary. The hamshochas ho'er ho'elyoin, the hamshocha of this superior oir, the higher oir, that is higher than both tendencies of rotzu and shuv. Excuse me. Hu alidei haTorah. It is through the services and the effect of Torah. So, just to introduce Torah. Could
you repeat that line? I didn't hear that line. This introductory line.
The hamshachas or Elin who are the hamshach of this higher oil is through Torah, through the Torah. I just want to. I'm jumping the gun, but because I don't want that we should be just have so beautiful words but without meaning. What is Torah? Alidei Torah. I speak about it all the time. Torah provides us rules and laws how we should behave in the world. Lahabdil, there are worldly rules and laws how you're supposed to behave in the world. And what is the fundamental, the principal difference? There are many differences. The way the laws that the Torah presents is completely different than the laws in the world. But what is the principle? What is the principle? Meaning, what is the fundamental difference? Fundamental difference is this: the laws of the world, the worldly laws, the laws of property ownership, of justice, don't steal, don't rob, all of these things. All of those laws are geared and they are based on the benefit that they bring in order to be able to live in the world. Two neighbors should be able to live side by side and not usurp each other's rights. You have to have rules how they behave with each other. The rule itself is insignificant. Significant is, an element of it is as thereby, like they have a fence between them. The fence is not important. Who needs a fence? The fence safeguards and identifies my property versus your property. That's what the fence is about.
Good fence is good neighbors.
Good fence is a good neighbor. Right. Torah laws is a completely different thing. Torah law is defining a Torah reality. For example, we talked about fences. Shabbos, a fence makes it a Rishus HaYochid. This is not demarcating between one Rishus and another. It creates a completely different realm, different reality. And how big is that fence that makes it Rishus HaYochid? 10 tefachim. How difficult is it to avoid the 10 tefachim fence? 0. In other words, if it were a question just to safeguard against an intruder, there is nothing to it. That's not what it is. And on top of that, if there is an opening, a 4 amos opening between them, that's a gateway. That doesn't break the fence. The Baal Shem Tov made a sukkah. Baal Shem Tov made a sukkah specifically for the purpose, whatever the Baal Shem Tov's kavanos were. A sukkah that used all the various halacha principles about that. A good dachis and good if you have a board on top, so it's like a wall coming down, and you have one tefek here, and it's like a wall extending. You had a sukkah made of just a few little markers And Apidin, there is a wall there. There is a kosher sukkah. For one time, the Rosh specifically made a sukkah that utilized all the various coolness, so to speak. And it's a kosher sukkah. To say that these walls are preventing intruders, absolutely not. They're inviting intruders. They're saying, "Oh, you're opening it up for me to come in." So Torah law represents an inherent truth in the world. It is not relative, dependent on circumstance. It's a completely different thing. So this is what the Rebbe says, that Hamshoches Oir Ha'elyon Hu Alidei HaTorah. So Torah represents an inherent truth into the world. Not what the world becomes as a result, but just bringing an inherent truth into the world. So let's finish this line and we'll pick it up tomorrow. Because regarding Torah it says, O Yachzik b'ma'uzi Yas Sholem li. That if Yachzik b'ma'uzi, excuse me, he will hold on to my ma'uzi, to my strength that I'm providing.
Right? Strength.
Yeah. Ma'uzi there is, yeah, by the pastors. Yas Sholem li. He will make peace for me. Yas Sholem li, he will make peace for me. So the Gemara says on this, that anyone who is engaged in indulging in Torah, Meisim Sholem, he brings about peace. He makes peace Shalmaila makes peace in the worlds above, and makes peace in the world below. Peace means that he is able to correlate all kinds of different tendencies. Torah provides for this. And this is what we're going to pursue in Mitzvah tomorrow. All right, gentlemen.
We need a sponsor for the Shabbos Pavilion.
So this is it for this evening. Okay, you got some notes?
And the sponsorship.
Why don't you type them up and send them into Ayin?
Stand